Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And today, let's talk about how to handle stress so it doesn't negatively impact your marriage.
Are you stressed right now?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. Am I stressed? I do have some pressure as we are finishing our book. It's been quite the last month. It has been even more focused last week as we turn in our manuscript today, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So applause, even though we're here by ourselves. And it's an interesting question about what stress is positive and what stress is negative. We'll probably get into this episode talking about, you need a certain amount of pressure and stress to be pushing you to do positive things. If you had zero stress, then you're probably not going after things very hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So maybe a different point we get into. However, I did want to start today by talking about these three different types of stress. Everyone has stress, and you can have them exist in these three different categories. There's external stress. And it's very easy now, I would say, to get stressed about things in the outside world. And in those outside world things, as I mentioned, we'll categorize this as the external stress. Now, secondly, you can have personal stress. This is really what you're working towards in your life. It can be your standard life management with your partner, your home management, your finances,
Careers,
again, your job, your career.
parenting even.
Parenting, certainly. And the last category is that you have relational stress, which is how you and your partner interact with each other, often in these other two areas, the external and the personal, and how you interact with each other can magnify that stress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through your communication, which can cause more tension or hurt or defensive responses. Let's say if you're not keeping up with your personal responsibilities in the home, then you get into these back and forths because maybe you not following through on the finances or not doing something exactly right, or how you agreed upon with parenting can cause an upset with your partner. And really, it's how you handle that either magnifies your stress or can be a source of grounding each other.
Yeah.
And so that's really the main point we wanted to make today. We'll dive into some few different things you can do in each one of these. But if you're really going to handle stress better together, you certainly are going to have to make sure that the relational stress is not magnifying the other things.
Yeah. So before we get into those points for the three categories, I wanted to just share, it was such a subtle moment yesterday. You might even be surprised that I'm bringing up this because it was so subtle, yet it meant so much to me. Is we were up early, it was Sunday morning, and we were editing our book because, again, we've got this deadline, and I was feeling zapped, right? I mean, we were writing at 6 a.m. We do that every morning. And I was like, being a bit short to your questions. Yeah. And I was trying to communicate, like, look, I'm just zapped. Like, I just need a break here. And it was great because you just understood. You didn't take it personally. And then it was sweet. We had this cute hug. I go, I'm sorry if I took my stress out on you. I know I was not being like fun or like the best because I was just coming off, a bit short with him. And you just were like, it's okay. And you gave me a hug. And that's the thing to remember is that no matter if your stress falls into any of these three categories or maybe multiple, I think recognizing the stress as stress, noticing when your partner is struggling, noticing when there's a lot on your partner's plate, offering grace, compassion, a hug, just any of that is so important because I think if you listen to this podcast, I would bet you're the kind of person that's trying to do the best you can. Like, just to be honest, you're probably not a bum if you listen to this podcast, okay? And so does that mean you're perfect? No, none of us are. But my guess is, again, that you are trying You work really hard. You want to be a great partner, person, parent. And we need to have some grace for each other. We need to be this soft landing where we don't take each other's stress personally. We don't snap back at it. We don't react, fuel into it, and just feel like we're always on this like defense, like we just have to so quickly be on guard and be so defensive. And that's really just operating like you're on opposing teams. So as we go through these, just remember that you're partners, that you need to have each other's backs, that you need to be a source of safety, comfort, teamwork, and not opponents, not stressing each other out more. So just remember that. And Aaron, take us into the first point here.
And we'll just give a couple of things per these stressors and just see which one resonates with you the most. And I think that would be a very productive podcast and listen for you. So let's start with the external stress and work sort of inwards, if you will. I think when it comes to the external stresses, you really end up with two decisions. The first decision is if this external stress is showing you something that is actually very important to you that you do now want to dedicate your life to. If that's the position you're going to take, then you're going to have to make some lifestyle changes. You should commit yourself to it. You're going to have to talk with your partner about what adjustments are you going to have to make, and then just go in on it.
Mm-hmm.
The other path is that you realize this is just taking up too much space, and this particular stressor is not something to keep on giving your attention and your focus to. It only, well, based on the name of this episode, it stresses you out, causes you anxiety, causes you anger, causes you to feel divisive against other people. And you have to ask yourself, like, is this particular thing what I'm here to give my energy, my focus, my time to? Like, is it a part of my purpose? And look, for some people, you might say it is. Okay, great. And then go all in on it. But you're going to have to communicate with your partner, your family, make the adjustments. If it's not, I think it's just time to block out and give yourself the space from whether it's the news or social media or places you go where those conversations are existing. And to me, those are your two options.
I think the only other thing I want to say to this one before we move to the personal stress category is that you have to notice when you are getting into the unhealthy stress zone. To Aaron's point earlier, there's good stress, like stress that motivates us, that has us take action. But then there is too much. And I think some people struggle to have that self-awareness of that they're waking up and immediately becoming overwhelmed, stressed, and they're easily dysregulated. They're snappy with people they work with or out and about and struggling to sleep, right? So I think you have to ask yourself, like, am I creating healthy boundaries and making sure that I notice when I have gone into the unhealthy stress category because I am, just not maintaining boundaries between me and kind of the external world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go into then the personal stress, and then we'll get to the relational stress because these are the two that are, I think, even just the most common. So personal stress, as Aaron described in the opening, right, includes career, it includes health issues, it includes finances, parenting, anything that really has to do with kind of your people, right? The people you interact with, your world, your daily activities. And the question that I have for you with all of those things, are you showing up the way you want to? Do you have the resources, the emotional stores, the energy stores to be the type of person that you want to be in all of those contexts? Because if not, then I think you do need to do an inventory of, is it because I'm giving way too much to either the external stress category or all of the things that are included in the personal stress is something out of balance? An easy example is our career, right? Our career is a huge part of personal stress and something that many of us really care about. A lot of us love what we do professionally, whether you run your own business, you work for an organization. But is it still as fulfilling as it needs to be for the level of stress. And I think you and I talked about this. I think you brought this up over the weekend of just how much our world is about gaining more status, more money, more cars, bigger house,
More
more.
sales, more marketing. And
Yeah.
look, I get it because, I mean, we do some of those things
Yeah.
for our business
Better
too. But
clothes, more toys for your kids, more vacations. It's just more.
well, I just said it's just all about economies.
Yes.
It's our world that we live in is just, that's it. It's just all about economies. It's about sales. It's about products and services and moving money and gaining money and transferring money and building more and making better and efficiency.
I think we made the point. Yes. So here's the thing though, that can get way out of control. And you then don't have the energy stores, the capacity for the things that you're doing all that for, which supposedly we all say is our family, right? That's what everyone says. Why do you work so hard? My family. I want to provide a great life for them. Okay, great. Love that. But remember that part of the great life is being with you, your energy, your playfulness, being present. And so I guess I just wanted to bring that up because that's such a big one for people is the career stress taking up so much. And ask yourself with any of these, what's the cost? What is it costing you by giving so much to those areas? And is the payoff enough? Again, and I don't even mean from a monetary perspective. I mean from the fulfillment that you experience.
I would say worth it just because we
True.
overused enough, as in
Yes.
you'd have to do more. But yeah, it comes down to you're making sacrifices to focus on these other things. And at some point, you have to weigh whether the sacrifice is worth the reward.
Mm-hmm.
And, my mom used to actually call it the Ben Franklin balance sheet.
Hmm.
But in a sense, you want to take your personal stressors, and maybe start to notice like how much time and attention you put to each.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see something that's really out of balance in terms of the amount of time, then it's just time to create some boundaries, some constraints, some restrictions, set up that you're only going to work these particular hours. Maybe there's a conversation with your employer that, maybe they're demanding too much of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be a risky conversation, but if you're going to say like family is a high priority, then of course what we mean by that is time with them. Because look, we understand there's providing for your family, but at one point is your absence, whether it is physical absence or it's just that you're not present when you're at home,
Mm-hmm.
or that your energy is so stressed out
Mm-hmm.
that it is starting to overflow or spill over into your home life, then you have to ask yourself the question, where's the trade-off here?
Exactly. I think that's great. So then my last point to this one before going to relational is, I know it's going to sound like everyone says this, but I want you to check in and see if you're doing it, is you've got to make space for taking care of yourself. Because if you are overextending and giving to all of these other things that you care about, including your career, including your home, your kids, those all matter. But if you're putting yourself last, it will eventually catch up. And then you won't have much to give, or maybe you get sick. And that's the last thing that any of us want for you. That's the last thing that your family wants for you, is to have this stress, the depletion to impact you to even a physical level, which we see time and again from people is like, I just kept ignoring it. And I just kept thinking I could just drink more caffeine and keep going. And I wasn't taking care of myself. And eventually it hit me and I got sick. So don't let that be you.
Also, I want to note that this self-care idea does not mean you do it solo. So this
Mm-hmm.
will connect to the relational stress point. But so many people talk about, oh, you got to do it for you. It's like, well, but then you start sacrificing like the relationship time, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes this over independence and kind of like selfish. Well, I got to fill my own cup. It's not that you're now neglecting your other responsibilities, not taking your partner into account. So, and also that marriage is this thing that fills you up. Like your interactions with your partner should be something that fills you up. You shouldn't have to take this solo isolated time and then until your cup goes from 40% to 100% and now you're back available. No, it's like when your cup gets reduced, if you're at a 60% or a 50%, there's going to be maybe a few things you should do on your own. I like to cold plunge and sauna and
Go to the
red light
gym.
and go to the gym. But also, your marriage itself should be something that fills you up. So it's not something that you just do on your own and you pull away.
I love that you said that. And actually, it makes me think, just examples recently, over the weekend, we did a really good job of making sure that there was time for each of us to care for ourselves, like get that little recharge time. We both went to the gym, each kind of got to run an errand solo. Because sometimes as parents, you just need a low stimulation moment. But then, from that just little bit of time of recharging ourselves individually, we then also got filled up by the time together. We went to a new place in the city we'd never been, completely new park, new restaurant for lunch, went to a new shop, and it just felt so fun. And you were really sweet and affectionate and asked great questions. And so to your point, I was really filled up by that time together. And that also was interconnected with the self-care. I do want to mention before we go to the relational stress that what you just said really reminds me of how powerful our 30-day prioritizing us couples challenge is for that reason. Because the reason we call it prioritizing us is because your relationship is this entity, this thing that needs to be cared for. And when you are focusing on your connection, you are strengthening your communication, which is what's included in the prompts. You both bring out the best parts of each other. There's more joy. There's more just great conversation, great time together. The energy is good. And so if you've never seen the website for this challenge, read the testimonials because they blow me away. We get them every single day from people, from men, from women. And we've got the next round for this Prioritizing Us Couples Challenge starting on February 15th, which is the day after Valentine's Day. I know not all countries that listen celebrate that, but February 15th is a time that you can start it and just read why these prompts are so loved, why 50,000 plus couples have done this, and it's just so doable. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that that challenge is such a great way to channel some of your energy towards your relationship, towards even just feeling like your best self. And so I just wanted to make that a point right then. Aaron, why don't you take us into then the relational stress that can show up?
At first, I think you could set intentional time to have conversations where you're each just listening and intending to understand the other person so that they can just vent. Oftentimes in passing and as we do our personal responsibilities and that stress starts to build up, it's like, well, you could still function with it. So you keep on going, and then you can feel your attitude changing and your partner feels your attitude changing. And then maybe they make a comment on it and you said, why do you comment on my energy?
What's wrong with you?
And then that turns into its own conversation, and that can escalate when you were really wanting to vent, but you just didn't make it clear. So when you start to feel that there is more added stress, I think you start to take more intentional time. And if you're parents, maybe it's earlier in the morning. I mean, I could see it happening at night too. Just you have to make the time. And we know being parents, you don't have a lot of time. So it's that you have to find it and make it. But it's about sitting down and saying, hey, I know we're stressed. Let's just basically vent to one another. What are you feeling right now? What do you think is causing you stress? And when you set up this conversation, we're also intending not to provide any solutions, any fixes, none of that. There's no logic here. Just ask some more questions. Oh, and validate. Oh man, that does seem like it was hard. I didn't know that. I really get that now.
I keep thinking of examples. I feel like we did a great job over the weekend is what I'm realizing from this, because we also did this. I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, we did this well. So over the weekend at night, I think maybe it was Friday or Saturday night,
We did it in the morning too while writing.
Well, it was a hard couple days before that. It must have been Friday night because last week was a hard parenting week. Like whatever Sky was going through developmentally, which I know all of you parents know, like there's just these weeks where you're like, what is going on? Like something has to be going on in their brain, what they're learning, developing, what feels challenging. And it was a hard few days. And so I remember at night, I can't remember which one of us put her to bed and came down, and I was just like, it just feels so hard right now. And I did exactly that. And I vented, and you did just listen, and you were like, it is, I get it. And kind of just, it was a bonding moment. You didn't try to fix it. You didn't try to change it. You didn't even judge it because you also were like, it has been hard, and then you vented about how you feel. And it was just a moment where we weren't judging each other and we weren't in logic mode. We were just connecting. We were just venting. We were just like, yeah, this is a hard moment. Let's be in it together.
Stress is reduced when you can share it with another person that should be going through it with you, and you feel like you're not alone. I mean, I think the stress builds up when you feel like someone else that maybe could be lifting the burden, or at least could be listening and understanding, or just doesn't really get it, or hasn't been acknowledging it. When you really feel like they're with you, I think the stress immediately reduces even just from that. So taking that time just for like the venting conversation, but also we got two more things here. I'll start with the love account. I think you continue to look in your daily life, and since you've been listening to us long enough, there are love account deposits, and those are just the intentional efforts you make each and every day to prioritize your partner, which is exactly what the 30 days of prioritizing us couples challenge is. So we would literally send you an email every day for 30 straight days. You just do that with your partner each day and watch how you fill your love accounts. You're more connected, more understanding with one another. And the thing about the love account deposits that we've really realized, the more they're outside of the routine, the more meaning they have to them.
Yeah.
Anything you do repeatedly, or anything you do that you would do if your partner wasn't there, starts to mean less.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this even a couple of podcasts ago. It's not that I'm clean, it's that I'm organized.
And obsessively.
I hate even getting to the point where anything needs clean. It's like everything should be so organized and in its place, and like every cup and dish could easily just be like washed off when the food is on there, because it just washes off easily. The longer it stays on there, the harder it is to clean. So welcome to
he could do a whole podcast episode on this.
And the thing is, if I start to say things like, well, look at how much I do the dishes. Look, I'm doing that regardless of who is in this house.
Yep.
So it's really not a place to stand to say, look at the effort I'm making, when I'd be doing that regardless.
So to your point, with the love account, which again are these deposits versus withdrawals, just like a bank account, it really is doing what is a little bit unexpected. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be extreme. You're not having to do like rose petals from the doorway to the dining room and candles. I mean, if you can do that, great. Like that's awesome. But we're talking about the daily ways that you're signaling to your partner's brain, oh, they thought about me. Oh, that's new. Or, oh, they don't always do that. They went out of their way a little bit. Like, oh, I noticed that little touch when they normally would just walk by. Like all those signal to your partner's brain, they care. They love me. They're present. They're putting in effort. And that's so often what both of you are looking for, especially linking back to these other categories of stress, the personal and external, is so much of our lives can be consumed by giving, doing, serving others. And then the relationship just kind of gets put over there in the corner. I hope we're doing okay. I hope we can kind of make it through these times. No, your relationship needs to be maintained. It is not something you can put on the shelf and just hope kind of lasts. It's not a McDonald's meal.
Oh, gross.
Have you seen those videos where they show a McDonald's meal lasts for like a decade? Anyway, that's a little side note, but you
I
can't.
think that's the first time in 430 episodes we
I've
mentioned
never
McDonald's.
exactly. It's like the preservatives, and so your marriage doesn't
Okay.
have that level of preservatives.
Oh,
You
as
know,
it
it
shouldn't.
can decompose. All right.
Okay.
As you
Well,
can tell, we're in
we-
good spirits.
As we digress.
Okay.
I would say then
Mhm.
with the love account too, there's still love account deposits, and we've mentioned it on maybe 4 or 5 podcasts already, but every Friday afternoon we are now mountain biking, and it's just so fun. Well, we do live in Arizona, and I know not everyone does. It's been like 70 degrees here, where like in Ohio, where my family is, it's like -5 and there's
Mhm.
4 feet of snow.
Mhm.
So I know we're fortunate, but really finding a way to have fun together, if it's not daily, at least weekly. I mean, we're having more fun in our daily interactions, but this bike riding, is once a week for us.
Yep.
So love account deposits, but making them more out of the ordinary, out of the routine. So then I would have to also mention the withdrawals. Now, what I want to say about those is to understand that a lot of the stress that you both feel, whether external, personal, or relational, is very seasonal as well. And so to think that you can make the same love account deposits all the time and have them be as impactful is the wrong mentality. You also can't think that, oh, if I only reduce these withdrawals, as in like interrupting my partner or having a short tone, and so long as I don't do that, then there's no other withdrawals. Like that's the wrong approach too. You really want to ask your partner, hey, for this season, because I've heard in our venting session that these are some of the external stressors. I also recognize these are some of the personal stressors. Hey, based on those and based on our current life and our lifestyle, what am I doing that adds to your stress relationally? So that would be categorized as a withdrawal. What am I not paying attention to, or what is more subtle that I'm not recognizing that's actually adding relational stress?
Mm.
And understanding that for this season and then reducing that will go a long way.
I think that's huge. I think write that down, you guys, and have that be a conversation when you guys are running errands. Or I know some couples will tell us, oh, we talk about your podcast episode when one of us is driving home from work or after the kids are in bed. So talk about that one. And then I think the other big point I would recommend you discuss from this is really talking about, what are some of the stressors in our lives that maybe has gone into the bad stress category, where it actually isn't supportive of our vision, of our needs, and that we need to either create a strong boundary with, a limit, or that could be deleted. Some of the stressors, not all, I think it's probably more few, can be removed, but definitely there can be boundaries and there can be limits implemented. Because again, you have to remember, it's going to catch up with you at some point. Like the stressors that you just think you can keep going and going with, and they are not the good stressors, it catches up with you in some way, shape, or form. Your health, it can have you suffer in your parenting relationship, it can have you suffer in your marriage. And so really just make sure the cost is not too high of letting these things go on. So we hope that this was a good kind of regroup episode. I think this is important. It's now February, which is crazy, 1 month in, and it's been a wild year already. And I think we need to kind of regroup sometimes and just be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are we doing here for this year? Are we on track? And, let's make sure that we make this the best year that we can for our marriage, for our family. So I hope these were some great talking points. As we mentioned with the Prioritizing Us Couples Challenge starting on February 15th, go to mycoupleschallenge.com. That's the website link for that challenge specifically. Read the testimonials. See why 50,000 couples have loved these prompts. See why they're so doable no matter how busy you are. It's an absolute must. We also know that there are a lot of new listeners here, and we're so glad that you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe so you can hear past and future episodes and look at all the other topics that we have covered and listen to as many episodes as you can. And if you take away value from our podcast, it would mean so much if you would give us a 5-star rating on whichever platform you're listening on and write a sentence or two. We read every review. Those mean so much to us, but we're so grateful you're here. We've got your backs. We're rooting for you, and we'll have another great episode for you next week. So we'll talk to you next time.